I guess, the coming together of the community through this conference that we've imagined and talked about since December. And there are multiple moving parts, and we thought we'll take this time to walk you through where we're at right now and discuss how best we can make most of this time. All right, so before we begin, just some ground rules. We are recording this session. There's only a few of us who've joined us this afternoon, but for the interest of everyone else within the community, about 200 of us on Slack now. We'll also be sharing the recording and more notes from this session, particularly because this is on the conference, later on Slack for everyone to see. I don't see a note-taking assistant, but in case there is one, just flag that out for me. There's going to be about 25 minutes for which I share with you the plan that we've put together so far, and then we can use the rest of the 30 minutes to address your questions, concerns, and have a discussion. And in the meanwhile, if you have any comments or thoughts, please leave them in the chat section. मैं हिंदी में भी बात कर सकता हूँ, तो whatever language you're comfortable in, please use that. Great. So I just briefly walked you through this already. And just a very quick recap. We know we came together sometime in June last year as a community of practice to foster exchange and collaboration. And we've seen this in multiple forms happen over the past months. Now we have about 60 organizations who are part of the network. This also includes about 200 of us that are representing these organizations on Slack. Many of us have also submitted our reports and studies, some of them completed, many of them ongoing on the web platform. We've also met quite frequently as a community over Cornet coffee hours, which have been not just sharing, but also exchange and learning sessions with external members, but also at some moments last year, we did these 3 ethics dialogues. And the conference really was envisioned as a culmination of all of these elements coming together, where we could get not just the research community, but additional stakeholders to talk about what have been the learnings and experiences in the past year and what that leaves us towards the future direction. This is also a moment where we thought it would be nice to rejig a little bit of our own identity. And so the designers on the Quicksand team have put together also an identity. So you'll see some sort of refresh in the way we've been presenting these slides, and this will get carried through over the conference. But really the intention is to talk both about resilience and resurgence. And the dates for the conference as they stand right now are the 22nd, 23rd, and the 29th and 30th April. The intention of the conference has been really to talk about both showcasing research evidence and collectively reflect on these learnings for future responses in research and policy. And at the same time, to really seed ecosystem level conversations. And when we say this, we see this as a moment where not just the community comes together, but we also use this to leverage within all of our networks what we can do as a network. So using that sort of opportunity to come together as a community. We've been able to put together the conference and particularly the plenaries in conversation with some of our members because we felt like while we had the intention and interest to program this, we thought the content expertise really lied with several of the members that are part of the community. So as you can see, these are some names of the co-anchors who've helped us shape some of the plenaries together. And at the same time, the name on the top left is India Spend, who've kindly agreed to be our media partner, which also means that over the coming month, as well as in the future weeks to come, they'll work with us to also talk about how to maximize the outreach for all the outputs that the community is producing, not just collectively, but also as individual organizations. And also the intention of bringing co-anchors together was to think about how we want to start to I'm sorry, I'm losing my track. But really the intention with the co-anchors was to think about how we want to continue these conversations as we go forward. Right. So the important dates to remember, as you see, are the 22nd, 23rd, which is the 3rd week in April, as well as the 4th. And these are Thursday and Friday. And what we've understood in the past 3 weeks is that I mean, while as you already know, we already posted like 2 weeks before this, a lot has been changing because the landscape on the ground is changing. The availability of several of these members and the panelists, etc., that we want to invite is in flux. And in reflection of that, we recognize that this program, as it stands right now, is likely to go, but some elements in this are likely to change because that just reflects the nature of the world that we live in right now. But having said that, I will still give you a sense of where we are at right now, and we'll take it from there. Uh, so as you see here, and we've also talked about it a little bit in the past, there's two sort of blocks that we are trying to work with. So these are not full day sessions, but really a block in the morning that has showcases, workshops, and dialogues for 2 hours from 11 to 1, which I will detail out a little bit later. And then two plenaries in the afternoons. So one starting from 4 o'clock for 1.5 hours, and another one at 6 o'clock. And this was done with the intention that there's not just enough room for members to share their work and speak with each other, which there's ample opportunity to do that in the morning sessions, but also to come together as larger groups of people in the afternoon plenary session, where we imagine that we'll also be able to have broader level discussions. So what I'll do is just walk you through each of these programming blocks and what we have in mind. Plenaries are 90-minute sessions that are intended to collectively reflect on not just research learnings, but also talk about future responses. And for this, what we've tried to do is to have not just members from the research community, but also external panelists who share their thoughts. So if you can see here, basically, if we have about 5 minutes for a moderator to share their thoughts, about 20 minutes are used by a network member to do the context setting, which would broadly lay out the work that different members have done and the point of view that the researchers come from as they enter this plenary. And the intention is that the three panelists that we bring or invite after that would reflect not just on what was presented by the researchers, but also share their own experiences and thoughts. Following that, we have questions as well as some time to discuss future pathways. Right. And here's where you can see the program as it stands right now. So for every day, you see a plenary slot in the first and the second one, and I will walk you through each of these. The first one on Thursday is the opening plenary, which talks about resilient health systems and is much more an overall sort of sense for where the community's conversation is at. And every day we walk through different sort of elements or different themes from work that different community members have done. And finally, we talk about data ecosystems. And it's also something that particularly this year through our coffee hours, we kept coming back to as we think, particularly as a community of practice, we think that could be one route in which we see a lot of our conversation going forward. So what I'll do is just walk you through each of these themes and to share with you where broadly our thinking is at and some suggested names that we have for panelists. Yeah, and I'm just hoping that there are no questions. Okay, so yeah, and the chat section's open. So in case if you have any questions, right, please add. And as Babita is also adding some notes, great. So the first one's around health systems resilience, and we want to start by using the broader health system resilience framework and talk about what big learnings have been across the different themes. And we want to talk about it from not just an Indian perspective, but also a much broader global perspective. For this so far, we want to invite Asha George as the moderator, and some names for potential speakers is what you can see here. And as you know, or as you can see, these are people not just from a health systems point of view, but there's also people who represent food and so on and so forth. So there is a wider sort of representation, and the intention is to talk also or to get a flavor of what the coming days are going to be about. Following this, the first plenary that we intend to do speaks of frontline workers and how particularly this time was an important one in recognizing how their role has really come to the fore, and not just talk about health workers but also community workers or other sort of non-health workers that have come to the fore, and trying to understand not just their challenges, adaptations and so on, but at the system level what sort of preparedness can be sort of looked at to improve responses, particularly in the months to come. For this one, the co-anchor is OPM, that's also been leading the FLW's working group that already has put together not just a research framework, but also a resilience framework, but also evidence synthesis from their own work. We have accountability initiative that's also worked on PRI leaders on non-health workers. And then we have some names from the implementation side, and we want to understand also their experiences in trying to find out what the future or where the future lies. The next one's on nutrition and food security, where we want to talk about what program and policy interventions were effective, and particularly what sort of programmatic changes will be required as we go forward. I'm going to move through this a little bit rapidly so we know we have enough time for questions. And again, as I said, these are right now still works in progress. We're working with co-anchors on these, and as we speak, also sending out these invites for co-anchors, sending out invites for panelists to come and join us. And here, IFPRI, that's been leading the Nutrition Food Security Working Group, will be doing the context setting. We want to invite Dr. Desai as the moderator, and then potentially some of these implementers as well as the World Food Program to share their thoughts. The third one is on family planning and sexual and reproductive health. This is also something where we recognize there's abundant information on how there has been reduced access, and we want to understand how both access and demand has changed over the past few months, and particularly what are the big learnings around this. And for this, we have ICRW that will be the co-anchor and will present the context from not just their studies but also other partners, and then also have people from implementation, people like IDF that have also been working closely with the government. Also from the supply side, we have DKT to talk about what challenges or opportunities they see. Then there's a panel on gendered economic impacts, and this is another big one where particularly women have been hard hit through the pandemic, and not just because of being out of work, but also because of sort of added burden with household work, children not being able to go to school, and the likelihood, I mean, lots of women-run enterprises or businesses being shut, and finally also the likelihood that women coming back to work will be much harder than many other sort of sections of the society. So trying to understand how would we what is the evidence around this firstly, and then how do we improve these opportunities for women to get back to work sooner. And for this, we again have three co-anchors who've all found great evidence on this already. We have Soumya from iWage who would moderate this, and we're hoping that lead presents the context, and then we have some other members who share what their experiences have been. The next one is on economic vulnerability and how safety nets have sort of panned out in the past year. This is again both about the design and delivery of cash transfers and how effective they've been. And for this one, we particularly want to not just have insights from Dalberg, Dwara, JPAL, and other partners who've done work on this from within the network, but also get external sort of inputs from panelists to talk about this. And finally, the sixth plenary talks about adolescents, and particularly for them, as many of them have had to be at home. What have been the ways in which they've coped with the pandemic and their sort of emergent needs, particularly around accessing information around gender, sexual health, and so on. And we felt like, particularly with the FP and with the FP track, there was enough about young people that needed to be talked about from the context of the pandemic, which is why we created this additional session. And a lot of this, again, comes from the work that Pop Council's done within this realm. We also have Siddharth from Facebook, who we propose to moderate this, and not just people who worked with young people, but also get fresh perspectives like Agents of Wish to talk about what non-linear ways of approaching young people could potentially be. And finally, as I said, the cloning plenary will be about data and how the conversation around data needs to happen, not just from the point of data ownership, but also stewardship and sharing to create a wider sort of ecosystem, and what values could be built to create this ecosystem for data. And for this, again, we've Astha, who presented at the coffee hour that we had previously, and then two other speakers and a lawyer who talk about this. Yeah, so that was the plenaries. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit out of breath. I am nervous as I present this to you. And I should convey that as I speak, a lot of this detail exists in more detailed texts that are being worked on with co-anchors. And I'm just giving you a really broad scan of where we're at. On to the next three pieces of the programming. The first one is showcases, which again came from the intention that actually these plenaries don't really capture all the wealth of the work that the members have produced, not just in the past year, but particularly in the last few months, right? And we felt that there was a need to just create a space where members could come and share this work. So the showcases are really planned as 30-minute sessions where you can just directly write to us. We'll share with you a form right now. And if you have a study that you want to share directly with us, we'll just give you that slot, and you present your study followed by a Q&A, and that gets documented. So that's really straightforward. And this could be, for an example, APU that's recently or is publishing a study on the state of working in India, and that just gets published as is. The second piece is workshops, which is slightly more interactive, and this could be both about work in progress studies or completed pieces of work. And this could be where you as a community or you as a member want to elicit feedback, opinions, or discussions from other community members, right? For this, again, the opportunity is that you can use as much time as you want. The engagement is also up to you, but we can help you in case if you want to figure out breakout rooms or any sort of other opportunities that you want to create around that. We're happy to help you with that. And for an example, it could be that IFPRI does a workshop on particularly the measurement harmonization tool, which everyone across about like 11 partners have contributed with feedback for, and so on, right? So it could be a moment where we just discuss what has come out from the tool and how to maximize the outputs for it, and so on. So something like this, anything that is work in progress for you that you feel you want to workshop with other network members, it could be senior ones or junior ones, and if you'd want to share that with other community members, this is an opportunity to do that. And finally, the third one is a format called dialogues, where we hope to have 2 or 3 people who would like to do a more free-flowing conversation. So this could be between a member or an external guest. And really, again, the content is very much about you. But if there's a pressing concern that you've had and you think will be nice to debate about, this would be the moment to sort of walk through that. For example, particularly in the past year, we've spoken so much about mobile surveys. So in case if you'd want to do a session on what the future of mobile surveys could be, and if you want to get an ethicist and someone who does a program, or like a research program manager, and then you sort of discuss or what checks balances or what cost benefits need to be looked at for the future. any interesting sort of thoughts you've had or curiosities you've had, this could be a good place to get two interesting people in the same room to chat about it and have a discussion. So these are formats. What we'll do right after this is we've created a form where you can express your interest in case if you'd want to participate, make or organize any of these morning session things. What we'll do is we'll share this form with you. So I'll request Nitya to please share the link to this form, which is this one on the left. So if you can just go through that form and indicate interest in whichever one you'd want to do. So you can do that. And yeah, we want to keep this on a rolling basis. So as and when we have more confirmations, we'll start to upload them. And this is really to get a sense of how interested the community is also in formats like this. So this will be on a rolling basis. The second piece is the plenary details. The registration links for the entire conference are also live now. This is on Shed. And I'll now request Nitya to also share the link to Shed, which is a scheduling sort of website, basically. You can go on to the link, and on the link you'll find not just the entire schedule, you can log in to register. And once you do that, there's a way for you to send the entire schedule to your email. You can copy it to your calendar, you can bookmark events. So there's a bunch of things that you can do. Also, you'll see that there's an attendees section on it, where you can enter your names in detail. So in case if other people who are attending the conference want to contact you, that can happen directly from there. So there's a bunch of functionality on Shed, and I'd urge you to just go over it and see how you'd like to make the most of it. And finally, as and when the concept notes and more details on the speakers get confirmed, we'll also be updating Shed. And as it happens, it'll just keep updating automatically on your calendars. So there's no, like, you don't need to worry about syncing and so on. It just happens automatically, and that's a good thing. Finally, there is media outreach. We've already begun doing some of this, but we really we could use with your help. What we done a few weeks ago is also added a link for doing a video testimonial. Nitya will also add that to the chat box right now. So if you can go back to us, and I'll use the next slide to give you this in detail. But along with that, we are also putting together a media pack, so which will have templates for tweets and LinkedIn posts and so on that you all can use and spread the word about the conference, really. This is the link for the video testimonial. Nitya will put it forward right now. And basically, if you can share with us what it's meant for your organization to be part of the community, and what pieces of the conference you're most excited about. And it's really simple. You just need to make like a 30-second video, and you can do it from your phone or your laptop. And we'd really like for you to be there. Already, we've had Gramvani who's made a submission, and that's already uploaded on the Coordinate YouTube page. So you can also see that. But as more and more of you do it, we plan to make them as regularly as you all send us information. And in case if there's any questions, thoughts, and comments, yeah, please go for it.
Hi, Rohan. This is Mridulya.
Hey, hi.
Hi. So this is regarding plenary session 4. We had a chance to discuss some of these details in the morning. So iWage, Lead at Career University, and Seva, the three of us had spoken this morning. There were one or two questions regarding the session and the format. Is it okay if I bring them up now?
We could do that now, but maybe my suggestion would be that we take it offline, like right after this, if that's okay. And in case, just because we have more of us here, and if there are any other general questions, maybe we address that. And I mean, in case if we have time, we can come back to them, or I mean, I can call you at 5 o'clock if that's okay.
That works. Then in that case, okay. Can I bring up one general question I had?
Yes, please.
Great. Okay. So the list of speakers that has been suggested for each of the plenary sessions, who will be contacting them? Since all the all the co-anchors may not be connected to all the speakers, will that be taken care of by Quicksand, or will that happen at our individual organization levels?
Yeah. So we are happy to do it. We'll be doing it for most panelists. In some cases, we felt like, particularly, say, with a person from a government organization and so on, we've sometimes noticed that a researcher may have direct access, and in that case, it might just be better to use that reference and for them to introduce us, and then we make the invitation. So only in those cases we would request the co-anchors to first introduce us and then we make the introduction. But in normal course, we plan to send out the invites. And I mean, yeah, like we plan to do that on Monday at the latest for all the plenaries. Yes, if it's not happened already.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi, Rohan. I had a follow-up question.
Yes. Hey, Roshi.
Hi. So my question was about sort of participant or attendee outreach. So I wanted to check sort of whether Quicksand will be doing for the plenaries, especially like reaching out to sort of general, research communities or policy communities to get them to attend the plenary sessions, and whether there's something that you sort of expect the network members to also play a role in, and whether there would be sort of certain common materials that could be shared with us if we, let's say, wanted to circulate that to either internally within our organizations or to our partners.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, Urvashi. So the media pack that I shared will, and actually that's a great suggestion. We could also have some more customized or tailor-made material that we make for specific sessions, maybe, if that helps. And we would very much like for you to also reach out through your networks. At the same time, I guess one thing to add is that India Spend, who also has great outreach, particularly within researcher communities, have also agreed to work with us very closely to spread the word out for different plenaries and sessions and so on. And yeah, which is, I mean, the other thing is that we've also now opened up the entire conference, so both the morning and the afternoon sessions for the public. So we very much would appreciate not just reaching out to organizations and different members, so also that, I mean, please reach out to all of your colleagues. We can share an email and material where you can also share it with colleagues across JPAL and other organizations and so on. And not just that, but also academic institutions, and that would also be very, very useful. So we can add all of this into the media pack and send that out to you by Monday.
Okay, sounds great. And then just one more point, and maybe this is something that we could discuss offline, but it was regarding, I think, similar to Mrzalia's question about sort of speaker outreach. So if there are certain people that you want to reach out through the network members themselves rather than like sort of generally Quicksand, or by when can we expect, I mean, should we expect something to come from you before we reach out to any suggested speakers?
Yes,
or?
yeah, by tomorrow, I think, yes, yeah. Yeah, we'll share with you tomorrow whether we are reaching out or we request you to reach out, yeah. But
Okay.
we should be able to share that with you by tomorrow afternoon, I reckon.
Okay, sure, sounds good, thanks.
Great. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
Hi, Rohan. Monisha here.
Hi, Monisha. Hey.
Hi. With regard to, I think the plenaries are pretty clear, but with regard to the other engagement platforms that you mentioned, the workshops, dialogue, and the showcase, would those be would the audience sort of outreach, or even, so to say, as you said, the person who would be sort of leading that workshop or showcase or dialogue, would that responsibility of, say, audience reach or just designing the whole theme would be on the organizer, or would it be also sort of collaborative? Because I'm assuming once you get the responses of the Google Doc form, then you would be in a better position to also outline what details of each of these sessions would be.
Yes, that's correct. So we imagine that for the morning sessions, we want to give the network members as much autonomy as we can to program and outline what they want to do with the event, what to them the most important learning agenda is, and so on. And we can support them to whatever degree is possible from our end. Having said that, particularly with the promotions, I think we will be supporting with that and creating communications that should be common and so on. So we should have that template once we know how many of those events there are and what best would be the way to sort of strategize on the outreach for those morning sessions. But certainly for the outreach for them, like it's not only incumbent on the network members, but also very much the secretariat would participate in maximizing the outreach.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And one sort of additional question: would this be the studies that have already been shared on the coordinate platform, or could it be the other studies which haven't yet been shared, but the organizations sort of have done in the meantime?
Right. So I mean, absolutely also still depends on you, which is why we also kept it a little bit flexible. For the showcases, we have a feeling that it'll be more useful if the studies are relatively fresh. So we've sort of kept a boundary date for the 1st of January. So anything that got updated, published, or completed by the 1st of January would be good to include in the showcase. And when we say showcase, it would ideally be a completed study where you're talking about not just methods and approach, but also the findings and where you want to take it and so on. So some sort of a completed product. But in case if there's anything else that is still work in progress, ideas that you have that you want to share, that are still not completely set in stone, ongoing studies, all of those you can pitch and organize as workshops if you think there is enough merit in sharing that with the community, eliciting feedback, and so on. Having said that, it will be nice if all the members can update their studies, add new studies to as much as possible on the Coordinate website, just because that's the first entry point that we will have for everyone who looks for the Coordinate conference. That's also particularly through this month is the artifact that we imagine will have the most amount of visits, because people would want to find out firstly what Coordinate is, who the members are, what kind of studies there are on the platform. And over the past few months, we think we have built a pretty solid sort of repository already. So particularly in the last 2 weeks of April, we imagine there to be a lot of visitors. So in case if you have studies and there have been updates, I mean, this will be a general request for all of you to update that, if that's okay.
Manisha, this is Babita. If I can just add with regard to your first question, when you see the shared link that Nitya shared, you'll actually see that the schedule calls out everything. So we do want to promote the overall schedule, and that's what a participant technically registers for the entire conference. They can, of course, add specific sessions to their own calendars. Right now, you'll see that the morning sessions are just blocks because we don't yet know what members will want, who would be interested in the showcases and workshops. But as and when we get it, this schedule will get further detailed out with these sessions.
Sure. Thank you, Babita. And thanks, Ro.
Hi, this is Tamini from Vihara. I just wanted to gather some sense on, especially looking at the hi Rohan, looking at the dialogue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, looking at the dialogue section, I just wanted to gather some sense on what are the tentative dialogues in place right now, or where is everybody's thinking at on that front. That might help us also to sort of think through some of the conversations that we've been having and how to structure them.
That's a really good question. Maybe Babita, if you'd want to take this, that'd be really useful.
So we haven't had specific discussions, Damini, because we, like, the morning sessions are all sort of we hoping to kind of get inputs from all of you. But as we go along in the next week, we had some thoughts, of course, on what could be interesting dialogue. So we were hoping to reach out to specific members or like seed some suggestions, but really it's an open format. And if there's been something you've been thinking about, like, this is really the space for that. If you've been considering somebody else, whether within the network or outside, that you think you could have an interesting conversation with, this is the space for that. And we'd be happy to kind of work through that with all of you as well, if you feel it's a format you want to explore.
Right. That is something. Sorry, Rohan. Just to respond to Babita, it's also interesting to see how we'd find the right alignment with other speakers to be able to have that cohesive conversation. So just to also put it out there, since we are gathered, we are currently doing the sprint 2 of our first COVID research, where some of the interesting insights that are coming around are around how to strengthen the frontline workers and what is it that really impacts their motivation and their ability to be able to work effectively, and what came out during COVID. And the other thing that we were quite interested was to sort of also look at how the digital transition in the frontline work are taking shape, and what is it that we could do at our end to sort of facilitate and strengthen that transition as well. So in case somebody's thinking is on that front, it would be good to connect over these two thoughts.
Great, Damini. We'll also keep that in mind. And again, maybe, once after today's coffee hour, we will kind of post all of this on Slack for the people who've not been part of the coffee hour. So maybe we can create a new channel to kind of seed some of these ideas, like you're saying, and see if there are interesting folks to kind of work with for these dialogues.
Great. Any other thoughts, propositions, ideas, or something that you find completely missing here? Anything outside of this that we should be keeping an eye on?
Hi, Rohan. This is Shantanu.
Hi, Shantanu.
Hi. Yeah, since you mentioned that sort of about the topics on the dialogue. So one important topic could be vaccination, given the resurgence of cases and also the way the vaccination is progressing in India. I mean, it's not probably going the way everyone expected it to go, the pace, etc. So a dialogue session on that topic might be useful, and I don't know, having some expert like Dr. Gagandeep Kang or someone like that with others who can sort of continue with a conversation with her might be interesting.
Great. Thanks for the suggestion, Shantanu. Maybe I'll try responding with this, but I will also request Babita. Yes, that's a great suggestion. We've also been thinking about how to absorb it. The only one question is that we want to be a little bit careful in the way we frame this conversation, particularly because we want to plan these as public events. We just want to make sure that they align well between just what research tells us so far and where we want to take that. Having said that, this is still a very important piece to cover and talk about. So we'll also try to look at whether if there's a network member that has a point of view on this, and we'd want to build off of that and use that in a dialogue. But it might be that we want to do it as a closed door members only conversation. And do you think that will be okay, Shantanu? Like, will that, if we do it as a closed door rather than an open conversation, just also so that people are more honest, open, and feel safe in actually coming and sharing their thoughts?
Yeah, that's definitely a good suggestion, I think. But
okay.
There are also a lot of data available. I understand your point that it needs to be evidence-based, not just opinion. And I mean, there are some data also available in terms of actual vaccination as well as the hesitancy and the reasons behind hesitancy, etc. I mean, there are some national level web surveys like the Facebook survey, etc. is there. So, I mean, we can have both, but yeah, I leave it to you guys to take a call. Yeah.
Great,
I just wanted
thanks.
to add
Yes.
actually, there is another aspect to the vaccine thing that you could possibly think of covering in fact, one of the themes itself. So if you talk about the FLWs section, or when you talk about, resilient health systems, vaccination could be a sub point of that, because the way it was rolled out and the way the frontline health workers received it first and what it did to the perceptions of the community around vaccination. I think that would be era, like if we approach it from the behavioral side and not from the policy side, it would be less controversial, so to say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's precisely what I meant. I mean, why it led to this situation, basically. Yeah.
If I can add, Rohan, this
Yes.
is what we at faculty have also been working consistently on. So it would be great if you're doing anything about vaccine hesitancy or any kind of, uh, fact checks that we have been doing over the past year. We can definitely contribute to this particular theme.
Actually, that sounds great. So maybe if Nandita, you want to speak to Monisha and Shantanu and see if this already is a starting point for a dialogue that you'd want to set up, and maybe that could be one way in which we actually have you guys share some of this work as well, and then and see if we want to get an external speaker. I mean, that should also totally be fine. If you want to propose that, does that sound good?
Yeah, sure, definitely. We'd be
Great.
interested.
Yes, that definitely we can get in touch with each other. Yeah.
Great. All right. I'll just anyway just connect you all on an email right after this then. Any other thoughts?
No, this is Babita. I just wanted to add, obviously, Rohan's shared a lot of details. So we'll put this up soon so y'all can have some more time to think about this. But I also wanted to just say that we've been talking about this and there's been a lot of flux at our end. I think it's just been the nature of things, and we wanted to also thank um, a, a lot of you, especially it's like our co-anchors, for their patience on all of this. It's not been easy to put together the plenaries. But hopefully through all of this back and forth, and I think all of the amazing ideas we're already hearing for the morning sessions, we'll have a really rich conference.
This is really helpful. Thanks, Kapita. Thank you, Rohan.
And if there's anything, if you have any questions or even ideas that pop up later, you know where to reach us. So we don't have to go the full hour. We can obviously give people back some time. But really, really keen to build this with all of you, and look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Yeah. Please reach out to us in case, as you think about it, as you read more, in case there's any questions, thoughts, concerns, please do share them with us. And yeah, we're in this together. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.